Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our principal, Mr. Peralta.
Good morning, and thank you for taking time out of your day to commemorate the events of September 11, 2001. I know that for all of us here today, and in fact for all Americans, September 11th forever changed our world. The events of the World Trade Center have indelibly shaped who we are, how we live our lives, and what we believe in. I imagine that 9/11 has defined our generation, just as Pearl Harbor defined the generation of our grandparents and great-grandparents. One of the most prolific contemporary poets and literary geniuses of the 20th century has exemplified for humanity the difference between a memory and a rememory. Toni Morrison explains that a memory is a simple act of recall. We do it all the time without thinking. We use our memory to remember facts like math formulas or parts of the body if you're taking an anatomy class. Rememory is different, however. It's not a simple act of recall. In fact, there is nothing simple about a rememory. Let me try and explain. For a human being to engage in rememory, you quite literally have to re-experience an event from the past. The exercise is a visceral one, meaning it is an experience in which you remember feelings and emotions. You remember tastes and smells. You remember things and the way things felt like when you touched them. Let me give you just two examples. If you're young enough to remember your first kiss, I'm sure it was an experience that produces plenty of emotion. Hopefully that was a positive experience for you. However, not every rememory is positive. Sometimes a rememory from the past can be debilitating. For example, remembering a family tragedy or remembering an abuse from childhood. I'm taking the time to explain this phenomena because I realize that the oldest student in our audience today was probably 4 years old when the events of 9/11 occurred. I would not expect any of you to remember it. What I want you to know is that for those of us who are a little older, the event conjures up rememories that are very painfully emotional and scary. I believe that what shocked us the most that morning was not the unthinkably diabolical method used to attack us or the scope and magnitude of the attacks themselves, but that it was our way of life that was attacked, our way of life that embraces freedom, our way of life that rewards hard work and perseverance, our way of life that recognizes and respects varying opinions in society. The United States of America remains one of the most desirable places on this planet to live. Not for the oceans and beaches, not for our mountains and rivers, not for our cars, our homes and technology, but for our freedom. If you've ever had the great fortune of traveling outside the United States, you probably enjoyed your time away. It's always fun to experience new things and escape from life we call ordinary. However, I'm sure like most people, 2 or 3 weeks into vacation, you start to have that longing for your own bed, your own pillow, In-N-Out burger. You start to miss home. America is a special place. Americans are very special people. Shakespeare said, "Everyone can master grief, but he that has it." While our nation still grieves over the loss of life we encountered 13 years ago, remember that our American spirit is defined by our innate ability to reach out and help others even in times of unthinkable crisis. Our American spirit is defined by our ability to move forward in the aftermath of overwhelming loss, even when it seems easier to quit. The greatest tribute I can think of to honor all those people who lost their lives on September 11, 2001, is to continue to move forward in the pursuit of happiness and the defense of all we value as citizens of the United States of America. It is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker today, and that is Coach Riley. Coach Riley.
everybody, and happy Thursday to you all. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
I've been asked to share some of my thoughts and memories with you this morning about this very sad day in our country's not too distant past. Today is the anniversary of 9/11, Patriot Day. I think of the word anniversary as a term of celebration, so instead I refer to this day as a recognition of that tragic day. 13 years ago today, our nation's history changed forever. The storybook of our country had a very unpredictable chapter added in an extremely hateful manner. September 11th, 2001. It was a Tuesday. I was 25 years old. I had just gotten married a month earlier. My wife and I had just moved back to Burbank, and I just started my teaching career. I was a first-year teacher, first time in a classroom, and the first time being responsible for the 35 faces staring back at me. I'd literally just finished my first week ever of teaching and was now faced with my second week of school when this tragedy occurred. I remember trying to cope with what was going on in my own head while trying to be stoic for my classes. I was a grown man and I still couldn't understand why something like this would take place, why somebody would want to do this. I remember thinking about how my students must feel. It's a somber memory. I was heartbroken. The single worst loss of life event on U.S. soil. It's a day to never forget, to reflect upon. It's a moment to remember those friends and family members that were lost that day, taken way too soon. I looked to my wife for help in understanding why this happened. I looked to my parents for explanation. And I looked to church leaders for help as well. But to this day, years later, I still don't fully understand. As a social studies teacher and a fan of history in general, I often wonder what life was like before major turning points in our nation's history. For example, what was life like before President Kennedy's assassination? I imagine nobody thought that to be possible. What was life like before the Vietnam War or the World Wars? I hadn't been born yet, so I don't know what life was like before these historical events. I do remember, however, what life was like before the attacks at the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. I remember feeling very safe, very comfortable, almost a false sense of security, as if the U.S. was untouchable, and nothing bad was ever possible of occurring on our home soil. Maybe because I was a young adult myself at the time, but I remember thinking, that can't happen. I remember the heroes of that day, the first responders, firefighters, law enforcement personnel. Not only did thousands of civilians perish that day, but hundreds of first responders lost their lives that day as well. Individuals who were coming to the aid of those that were in need of help. It was the deadliest incident for firefighters and law enforcement officers in U.S. history. Also, the hero civilians on United Airlines Flight 93, who decided to resist the hijackers and help divert that plane from hitting its intended target, believed to be either the U.S. Capitol building or the White House. These people were ordinary people, unknowingly put in harm's way. What they did is inspiring and heartbreaking at the same time. Even though it was abruptly shortened, their lives and their actions are worthy of pride and great respect. If I had to sum up that day in one thought and have one takeaway from that tragic event, it would be legacy. Or rather, what a selfless and awe-inspiring legacy those heroes had and will forever have. It got me thinking about what I would want my own legacy to be. What will I be known for one day? And to all of you, what will your legacy be? What will you be known for and remembered for? Being a football coach, I often hear the phrase that football builds character. Now, I'm not sure if that's true or not, or if it just reveals the character that already existed. The same goes for tragedies or hard times in general. Life is largely based on how you respond or react to circumstances. The events that took place on 9/11 and the fact that individuals ran towards danger as opposed to away from it to help perfect strangers, mind you, certainly revealed the character of hundreds of untold individuals. I find this amazingly heroic. As a nation, we suffered a common injury and now share a common bond, measured not by how much money is in your bank account or what kind of car you drive, but by how many words of the national anthem you can recite and how proud you are when you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. It Doesn't matter what your political ties are, what ethnicity you are, which cliques you might belong to, or your background. After 9/11, this nation bonded and we shared sadness and confusion. United, we stand. Time is fleeting. Even though it sounds very cliche, life is short. Even when our school days or our work days may seem like they take forever sometimes. Time marches on, regardless if we want it to or not. I feel fortunate that I get to continue working on my legacy. I respectfully mourn the fallen from that day and the almost 3,000 lives lost 13 years ago. And I feel for those that live on, who lost people near and dear to their hearts. But I also celebrate the fact that I get another day to try to be a good person and to continue building my own legacy. In closing, I encourage all of us to try to be good people. By being a good person, you leave a legacy that you will be proud of, no matter how insignificant some days might make us all feel. A smile, a simple hello or thank you, and even a knuckle slap or a high five, it goes a long way. If your journey ended at any moment, would you be proud of what you've done, how you have acted, how you have treated others? What will your legacy be, and how will you be remembered? Each day that we get to wake up is another opportunity to live a life that we can be proud of. So, celebrate each day, celebrate each other, and celebrate life. Thank you very much, guys. Have a super day today.
At this time, I would like for everyone to take a moment of silence in honor of the victims of 9/11. Thank you. On behalf of John Burroughs High School staff, faculty, and students, I'd like to thank all of you for attending our program this morning. And to conclude, the Wind Ensemble and Powerhouse will perform the Battle Hymn of the Republic.